Welcome to Ask Gwen, everyone. Today with me I have Dorice, and I'm going to let Miss Dorice take it away and share her story.
Hello, everybody. Well, thank you, Win, for having me on your show. I'm so excited. And even though I just met you just recently, it's just the relationship that a person builds sometimes can be as instant and spontaneous if there is a partner for showing vulnerability and sharing the care in the world. And right now, I thank you for doing that, for sharing with me about your life and about what's going on where you are. And it's just not as simple as it is, right? Nowadays, starting with COVID and then having all the demonstrations and all the political unsettling and unease, and on top of it, the fires and things like that makes it makes me even realize so much more how crucial, important the relationship is, the different relationships that we have in our lives. And over the last 2 years, I've really focused on the essence of building healthy, strong relationships. It actually started. I come from the world of education, which I you do too, and in 2014, my sister was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. And she was at that time 10 years younger than me. And, and she was in her late 30s. And she's living in Israel, and I live in Portland, Oregon. I was thinking, what can I do? How can I be connected with her during the most traumatic time in her life? So I decided to make every Saturday night, I decided to make a Facebook video, 2-3 minutes, encompassing a positive, uplifting, building messages. And what started as that, and every Saturday night I did it for an entire year. At the end of that year, I thought, okay, now what? I've had all these videos. And long story short, these videos became my book, Moments of the Heart, the 4 relationships everybody should have to live wholeheartedly. And during me recording these videos and then writing the content, I realized that there are so many things that we do to build relationships in this life. So if I were to ask you, Win, what are the 4 relationships everybody should have to live wholeheartedly? What would you
Oh,
think?
goodness. You caught
I know,
hard,
I'm testing you, and it's
you're
not a test.
testing me.
It's not a test because you know what? Different people actually gave me beautiful answers, and there's no right or wrong. It's just what I thought the 4, and still think the 4 most important relationships that everybody should have to live wholeheartedly. But it's a great icebreaker to ask somebody, what do you
I
think? Before you even look at my book, what do you think?
I would say family, friends, and a loving partner, and then what would what would the first one be? Family, friends, a loving partner, and I guess a good relationship with those who you call family, whether it's biological or chosen.
Okay, so let me tell you what I actually came up with. So when I was writing down those videos, I realized the commonality that I have. And it was a year into me writing the book out, and all the papers were around me. And I said to my husband, oh, I need to split them. And I don't know, how should I do that? And he said, well, you called your videos lev moments, lev in Hebrew meaning a heart, divide them to 4. And it took me very quickly to realize what the 4 that will be in this book. And I want to share it with you. So the first relationship is the relationship we have with ourselves. It has nothing to do with anybody else. It's how we love ourselves. How do we show self-worth to who we are? How do we grow and find our own purpose? What motivates us? What keeps us in line with the morality that we believe we were born to be? How do we keep positive? That's in the first level. And by the way, the word relationship is when I talk, when I do my speaking on stages and in webinars and workshops all over the country, I talk about how do you relate to your ship? That's relationship. How do you relate to your ship? So if you think of a ship and you think of the four decks on a ship, the first deck is the engine, right? That's the relationship that we have with ourselves. If we are not healthy on the inside, if we lack something, if there are some things that sabotage our own success, that's the engine. Nobody sees it, just like in a boat, right? Unless the engine is not okay and there is something breaks down, the other decks are not realizing what is going on. So that's the first relationship. The second relationship that I have in my book, that's another chamber of the heart, which is deck number 2, is the relationship we have with other people. And they can be the friends that you are mentioning, the family that you're mentioning, the people that on the street, the ones in the supermarket. How do we deal with them? The people that you work with. So when we talk about team building and collaboration, that's relationship number 2. That's deck number 2. We still don't see necessarily the ocean in deck number 2, but there are some maybe windows. And then you go to the third chamber that is absolutely necessary. And on the relationship, it's the deck number 3. And in the deck number 3, you can start seeing the ocean. And I call it the relationship with the it. And the it is the power that is outside of you, that is outside of ourselves. So some people think of it as the relationship with God. Some other people feel the relationship, they call God the power, the universe, nature. Some people even believe that that could be the spirit that is embedded inside of them. So whatever it is for your listeners and for you, the third relationship, it's that which is outside of you, right? And then you go toward the fourth relationship. And I love that relationship. It's the fourth chamber. It's the fourth deck on this ship. It's when you stand up on the very, very top of this boat and you see the vast ocean all around you and you see the waves coming up at the boat and you realize that that relationship is the relationship that you as the ship have with the events that happened in your life. And the events are those waves that are coming up against your ship. And the ocean, the vast ocean, is your life. Because what makes your life and everybody's life different from other people than my life is how we react to what happened to us. And that's why your life is different than my life. Because the events that happen to you and to you only. And what happened to me is happening to me. So how do I react to that? How do I let those events shape who I am? And that is the fourth relationship in that looking at the life events. So if I asked you, what is a life event that you believe shaped you to be who you are? You may have 1, 2, 3, 4 things that completely rise up right now, and they are the big waves, right? Sometimes the waves in our lives are small, sometimes they are big, sometimes they're a tsunami, they go over our heads, and we're thinking, oh my God, can I go up to do some breathing, right? So what do you think if you were to say events that really solidify or shaped your life, and that's why you are who you are, what would that be?
Number one, losing my mom. Number two, losing my dad. And number three, getting emotionally abused. Those are the three events that have shaped my life. Now, granted, I lost my mom in 2010. I lost my dad in 2019. I also got abused emotionally and almost physically in, well, I shouldn't say almost. It was physical abuse. Um,
By your dad?
by no, not by my dad.
Oh,
1 month after my dad died. 1 month after my dad died, my family comes in this house and emotion abuses me both physically and I both physically and emotionally.
wow. That must be an absolutely traumatic event in your life. And on top of it, the loss of loved ones. I talk a lot about events that traumatize us. And I use a lot of positive intelligence work because I am a positive intelligence coach. So I talk about my book and I talk about those relationships, but then the tools that I use are the positive intelligence tools that, based on Shirzad Shamin, who is a New York best-selling author. He wrote the book Positive Intelligence, and he is talking about our capacity to live through life's events and glean and be able to lean into a positive future. Now, what you're talking about, one of the feelings, so we have, let me back up just a second. There are many things that sabotages us, and then there's five in the book, in the system that I'm using, and based on Shirzad's work, there are 10 things that sabotages us: anger, shame, denial, sometimes being hyper rational, sometimes being judgmental, big controller. Those things sabotages us. One of the things that may seemingly look on the surface as a negative thing, like the idea of grieving, because grief is doesn't make you feel good. That's why people sometimes think, oh, it's a negative thing. In truth, it's actually a very positive emotion to go through, because what grief is the feeling the lack of love, right? That love is a positive. So negative feelings are feelings that are stemming out of fear, and positive feelings are those who stem out of love. And what I'm hearing the two events that happened to you, that that shaped who you are, was because of love. You loved your parents deeply, and when they left, that made such a void in your life because of the grief. Now the third one was a horrible situation, and that's actually connected to chamber number three. Also, number two actually trickles to all of them, and that's what I think is the most incredible piece of my book, which many people, Jewish communities and outside of the Jewish communities, read my book, and I was awarded. Well, I was a bestseller, and then awarded 3 different awards. The Reader's Favorite. I'm a finalist in the International Book Club, and and also the NACC, which is the NFAA, Nonfiction Author Association. And I think what resonates with people is how one relationship leads into another relationship and blends into another relationship. And the relationship that you had that event. It's not even a relationship, an event, but it influenced you. It's that abuse, it's that feeling that you didn't have control over your own life, and
Yeah.
how do you gain that? And also a sense of security, because when somebody violates us verbally, physically, you feel that you're not in control of your own destiny.
Yeah.
And I'm beyond um, proud and blessed that you are able to talk about that, because a lot of the time when trauma happens, a lot of the time people bottle it in. And when we bottle it in a lot, what happens? It becomes explosive.
Yeah.
At some point, it's like think of a can of a pop, right? Soda, right? The if we put it in the freezer for a long time, it just pops. Same thing with us. If we don't work on that, and be able to go through the fear and through the difficult times, to seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and to go the other way, we become paralyzed, right? Because that's what fear does. It paralyzes us from doing what we need to do in order to see the light, in order to not sink in this ocean with our boat. So I'm proud of you that that's the first three things that came to you were things that were not easy to handle and were not easy to go through. But by saying them right here, you are walking through the tunnel because you do want to be on the other side. And so positive intelligence teaches us how to not to keep our hand onto the hot stove, right? Onto the continuous feeling of bad feeling or being burnt, right? Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to be burnt completely, right? The minute you feel hot, the minute your body feels this is not a good place to be, you stepped away. You're like, oh no, I gotta take my hand off of this feeling and I need to find healing. And that's when in my coaching of the positive intelligence, using the concepts of relationships and using, as a matter of fact, some pillars that I go through 6 different pillars. And I've done research and studying that and asked over 200 people when they think of relationships. And if I mention 6 pillars, 6 keys, 6 values, what do you think will be the number one most important key in creating positive, healthy relationships? So, are you ready? I'm going to give you the 6 keys, and you're going to tell me which one, you have to choose one. Which one do you think is the most important? Are you ready?
Yes. I'm ready.
Okay. So if you're listening to this, you're welcome to jot those 6 values, those 6 keys down, because I will pause before I tell you the answer. Okay, so here it is. And it's not in any particular order. Okay, so don't
Well,
think that.
hang on
What?
a sec. What I want you guys to do is follow us, and if you're not driving and have access to a piece of paper, I want you guys to jot down and then come back and tell me um, when you're done and post it on my social media. I want my followers to do this do with me and you, Doris.
Yep. Are you ready?
Yeah,
Okay. So number 1, belief. And I'm only going to say one word so to keep everybody focused. Number 1, belief. Number 2, joy. Number 3, trust. Number 4, kindness. Number 6, connectivity. I believe I said all the 6. Did I say all the 6?
yes.
Okay. Which one do you believe is the number one most important element and value and a pillar to build a healthy, positive relationship?
Trust. Trust.
Yes,
Trust.
you are right. Trust. Trust is the absolute number one. Over 200 people that I have asked that. And then my next question is why? Why do you think that trust is the number one?
Because when you walk into a situation, you know by people's body language whether you are going to trust them, they are going to trust you. And I have been in a situation, and I won't get into details. I'll get that will be a podcast episode down the road, and but I have been in a situation where my I broke someone's trust, and she sent me to counseling, and I have since got it back, but we came close of her not trusting me.
Mhm.
And if I didn't go to counseling, I would have been up the creek without a paddle. And um thank God for a good friend that witnessed it. Um and my friend said, okay, we do this, we do this, we do this. Because after I broke that person's trust, and I'll tell you guys who it was um, later on, but when I broke that person's trust, she about number one yelled at me, and number two, and it took me a year, literally. I broke her trust in 2019, and it took me a year of solid counseling to say I will I will not throw you under the bus again. And she asked me why I did that. This person asked me why I did that. And I
Mhm.
said I was angry at the situation. I was angry at the situation at hand. I was angry at you for not respecting me and not respecting my the situation at hand. And I was grieving the loss of my father, and having and then on top of it, you not respecting what I was trying to do. I got mad and tossed you under the bus, and I'm sorry. And then she had taken it took a couple, we had a serious conversation after a year of me being in counseling. And yes, I'm still in counseling, but
Yeah.
we had a serious conversation to regain this trust
So
between.
what I'm hearing, which is really good, is that there was a responsibility taking on your side about your contribution to that situation
Yeah,
and trust. And one of the major keys of trust is showing vulnerability. The fact that you said, okay, i I crossed over some boundaries. I did something I didn't supposed to do. I shouldn't have done. And I'm going to seek help because I feel bad that this happened. Now, your friend also shows an incredible amount of willingness to repair a situation, to repair a relationship. Because for trust, you need two partners, only one, not only one. And so she was willing to repair the relationship with you. You were willing to repair the relationship with her by working on things that you needed to work on, by
Yeah.
understanding the cause root of what made you, um, you know, this put a sword of sorts. Because I talk a lot in my speaking, so in my talks and in my coaching, when I do that, I give a lot of examples from the Hebrew language, because I am an Israeli and I speak Hebrew fluently. I talk about it and I said, when you the word for trust and the word for being assured share the same word in Hebrew, and which means when words share the same letters, that there is an underlying connection between these words. So when we trust somebody, we are assured in this relationship, and we feel that there is an insurance level where we can be vulnerable. And I am really proud of you for working toward regaining the trust and therefore repairing the relationship that you have with this individual. And but to achieve that, you also used another one of my pillars that I talk about, that I go deep into it. So out of the six, what else do you think is by far the second things that people say, that's important? So trust is the number one for sure. And then there is number two and number three that are pretty close, but they are number two and number three out of that now remaining five. What
I'm
would
going to say connection and connection.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. That's the number two, that over 200 people, because I just started teaching this concept, and I go one by one by one, and connection is that need of us human creatures, social being. We seek connection from other people, from our tribe, whatever your tribe is, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's even outside of our tribe. Like, giving myself as an example, my tribe was in the Jewish community because I used to work in the Jewish world. I was an education director for 16 years. I wrote curriculum for kindergarten through 90 years old, Jewish holidays, ethics, life cycle events, all sorts of stuff like that. And then when I left and I became a motivational speaker, with based on the relationship concept, that for me, the driver was, of course, my background, right? We all speak about our expertise from where we sit. So where I sat and still do is the deep Jewish knowledge, the deep understanding of the Hebrew language. But then I realized that whatever it is that I speak about, it's universal. It's for everybody, could relate to the stories that I share, to the examples that I give, to the studies that I bring into it, and of course, positive intelligence is one of the biggest things that is contemporary, not only for religious people, whatever the religion may be, but it's for secular people. It's for people who believe in God and people who don't believe in God, people who are spiritual and people who are not spiritual. It's about the mental capacity to shift from feeling that are what we call sabotage ourselves into what sage perspective, it's to what the leaning into the positivity in life. So those two aspects play a role in each and everybody. We all have things that sabotages us, and we all, regardless of culture, regardless of um, abilities, regardless of anything, we all have the sage perspective. And the sages are the sense of empathy. The sense of empathy. And I think that's in today's world, that is such a huge thing, to be empathetic toward ourselves and towards the others. Right? Is to create this essence of love. Like if I were to ask you to look at your picture when you were 3 years old, 4 years old, would you, and you look at it and you look intently into that picture, would you feel and completely unconditional love toward that human being?
Me?
Yeah, of you.
I would. I would. In
You would.
fact, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah. And so
I
so
have it on
what
my desk.
I love it. I love it. So what that means is that that picture you're looking into right now, that is you. That is very much you. Eh, but sometimes throughout our lives, we get separate from that picture. Life happens, right? The waves against our ship comes, and sometimes the waves are tall and strong, and sometimes they're sweet and low. And that is that concept of connecting ourselves with the true essence of us. That, and when I did that with some clients of mine, I they start crying, because so many times we get disconnected from that beautiful, innocent part of us. And knowing that it still is us, it's, I think, incredibly empowering. So that's one of the activities that I do. And so using this and having this platform of this mental fitness, I invite people to come along on this amazing ride that starts with a 6 weeks program with me. And they have access to this incredible gym, and it's literally a gym app that creates new neural pathways in our brains. Because when we get angry, what really happens is that we go back into behaviors that we know we've done in the past, right? What's easy, we do. So if people are quick to anger, that's because the neuropath in their brains have been firing together for quite some times. So
Yeah.
positive intelligence works on, let's intercept that saboteur, and let's increase the sage, that empathy, that innovativeness, right? That experiences that are positive. And how we do it? Through a self-command. And the self-command is the ability to interrupt your brain throughout the day, 15 minutes, 15 minutes total. And that actually creates new neurons in your brain. So one of the activities that they have, and it's a gym, it's like an app on your phone. And one of the activities they do, and I'm inviting you to do it right now, it's so simple, but sometimes the simplicity is incredible. So if your listeners are not driving and they're pausing somewhere on the road, or they're sitting in their homes and they're listening, I'm going to just do literally 10, 15 seconds. Would you like that?
Yeah.
Okay. And with that, we can finish, because I don't know how long is your podcast, and I definitely do not want to go over what you usually do. So breathe in, like literally, like take a breath in and take a breath out. Just connect with your breath. Take your right hand and put it on your heart. And sometimes you need to kind of move it to find the heartbeat, and just feel your heartbeat. And then take your hands and move it down to your stomach, feeling the rising and the falling of your stomach. And don't think about anything else, but just focus on your breathing and on your stomach going in and out. I want you to take your fingers and rub two fingers against one another, just enough so you can feel the ridges of your fingers touching each other, and just rub them together. And try to think only of that. When a thought comes in, and it's totally normal, just put it aside and go back to rubbing your fingerprint together. And you can do that with your eyes closed and focusing more inwardly. And these are the type of things that mental fitness helps us do, because it interrupts, and the more we do it, right, it takes practice, right? When people want to eat healthy, they don't say, okay, I ate healthy on Monday, so then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Yeah.
I'm going to just eat all the unhealthy stuff because I already did my healthy eating on Monday, right? It doesn't work like that.
No.
It takes practice to build. Just like when somebody goes into a meditation or a yoga or learning a language, whatever that is, when you only do it one time, you don't see the effect. And that's why my program, which is based on Shirzad Shamin, the best-selling author and my coach, it's a 6 weeks program in order to see the difference. So I invite anybody who is a listener right now to email me, Dorice Horenstein at gmail.com, and maybe you can put it in the notes of the show.
No.
And my first name is Dorice, Dorice. My last name is Horenstein, Horenstein. And reach out to me and say, hey, Dorice, we want to be in your pod, because right now, you will be shocked that I actually have not yet publicized that I'm doing the 6 weeks pod for other people. I have full pods going just with the people that know me and know what I do. And so it is my first offer for a crowd that I do not know to reach out to me, and then I will be more than happy to share some information with them. And if you all go to positiveintelligence.com, you will see that there is an assessment there, which is free. Everybody can do it. And you will find out what are your saboteurs, because everybody has different things that sabotages them. For example, I have the controlling saboteur. I like to control everything, and sometimes it is a problem.
Yeah.
Right? Some other people may have the victim saboteur. Sometimes other people may have the pleaser, or the hyper rational, or the hyperachiever, or the avoider. Right? We all are different. And this method that the 6 weeks program is building into moving us from that into the sage perspective. And by doing that, we have peak performance in everything that we do. We are healthy, so it increases wellness, and we create better relationships. And that's how I got into this work, because I'm focusing on relationships. So when I talk about relationships and I supplement it with the tools from Shirzad Shamin, it's like an amazing, beautiful synergy of ideas and methods. And I do the live coaching, which is an additional piece. So I do live group coaching with those people that take um, my course and the 6 weeks, and then there's of course opportunities to continue and so on. So, so I thank you so much, Win,
Well,
for
you're
having
welcome.
me.
And Joyce, well, I've decided we're actually going to have Joyce back on to do a mini coaching session with you guys because I want to delve into I want you guys to delve into this and I want to delve into this too. And we may have Joyce on for a third episode just so we can get her story. And yeah, I want
Oh,
I
thank
want
you.
really episodes out of this because this is fascinating me. And so, Joyce, where can people find you and
So,
can people get a hold of you?
oh, well, thank you. First of all, thank you so much. You are so kind. I appreciate that. You can reach me at doricehorenstein.com. So there is my story and how I became to do what I am doing right now. I lead workshops, weekend retreats. It is a lot of fun. Because I'm Jewish and because I'm really knowledgeable Jewishly. I lead high holidays services on Zoom this year, and it is absolutely fantastic. It's building. It's good. That's going to be happening in September. All this information, if you're some of your listeners are Jewish, they should go in absolutely, and anybody should go into doricehorenstein.com and see all the arrays of things that I offer. Right now, there is not a mention of positive intelligence on that because, as I said, I am just working with the people who know me, and I am the people that hire me to do work with their corporations. But soon it will be on. You can always email me at doricehorenstein@gmail.com. Find me on Facebook. Absolutely. Dorice Horenstein. I have a page that's called Moments of the Heart, which is the name of my book. And by the way, do go buy my book. It's on Amazon and it is in audio. And the audio book is my voice. I decided that I really wanted to read my book out loud. So you will hear my accent, and I use a lot of Hebrew, just like I did with you a little bit today. I use more examples in my book. And I'm on LinkedIn, Dorice Horenstein. You can find me on LinkedIn. I am absolutely blessed and for this opportunity and for chatting with you, Win, today. Thank you
Well,
so
I'm
much.
blessed for having you on. And as I said to you guys, Joyce is coming back on for episode number 2. Episode number 2 maybe is story more than a mini coaching session, and then episode number 3 will be a mini coaching session. But we'll pick other episodes in between, and I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous episode of Ask When. Thank you guys.